Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Salatu salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala ahlihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can everyone see? Too small? The back, can see? Cannot see. Can see? Okay? Yeah, we start. We start from. So, okay, last week we stopped at here. We have finished the meaning of belief in Allah's Lordship, so we shall continue inshallah. The Arabs, polytheists at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, believed in Allah's Lordship. So now we're going to talk about, in fact, the people who do not worship Allah actually believe in Allah, right? The Arabs, polytheists at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, affirm Allah's Lordship. They believe that He is the Creator, the Master and Disposer of all affairs. But such affirmation alone was not sufficient for them to be admitted into the fold of Islam. So that's true. So if you talk to any people outside of Islam, if you ask them, do you believe in Allah? They will say they believe. Again, we talked about this last week. This is fitrah. You will believe in Allah. Even the people who claim they don't believe in God, actually, they do believe in God, right? And Allah records this statement in the Quran. This is in Surah Luqman, in the verse 25, where Allah says, if you ask them, who created the heavens and the earth? They would say, Allah. Say praise to Allah, but most of them do not know. Why ask them who creates the heavens and the earth? Why not just ask them, do you believe in God? But Allah asks a very, very critical questions. He asks, ask them, just ask anyone, who creates the heavens and the earth? Why heavens and the earth? Because this is the character of God. No one can claim He created the heavens and the earth except God. So if you ask the one who claim themselves, He is God, worship me, there are false gods out there. No one, all these false gods, ever claim they have created the heavens and the earth. You see, and this is the turning point. They can say they have resurrect someone, right? Perform some miracles. See, I cure this guy is dead, and then I resurrect him, so I'm God, worship me. That's the most they can do. Create some act. But they will never dare to say, I created the heavens and the earth. The sun I created. The moon I created. No one dare to say that. The only one who dare to say that, God. And this is why asking this question, Allah said, ask them, who created the heavens and the earth? Who created the sun and the moon? All of us will say Allah. God. Whatever word you want to use. They will say the Almighty, the God. Some say natural, blah blah blah, Big Bang. But still, they will say there's a superpower. There's a superpower who created this. So this is a very good question. Again, this is our fitrah. Allah has created us. That we know, we truly know. Even though some of us unfortunately choose not to worship God, they worship something else, they will still say, we believe in God. Majority of the people. Some say they don't believe. Indeed, affirmation that Allah is the Lord of all worlds, that He is the Master and Sustainer, entails that all acts of worship must be directed to Him alone, without taking any partners whatsoever with Him in worship. It would be ludicrous to affirm that Allah is the creator of everything, the disposer of all affairs, and the one who gives lives and causes death, and then we direct an act of worship to other than Him. So, yes, so if you truly believe there is God, there is one God that created the heavens and the earth, then surely we should only ask Him for anything that we want, right? And not any other things or humans. We should only ask Him. It only makes sense. And this is why Islam is not a blind faith. It's very logical. Some say Islam is blind faith. You don't see God, yet you worship Him. You worship something that you don't see. No, this is very logical. We know there's a God and we worship Him. Right? So it only makes sense to direct all our acts of worship to this Almighty God. Indeed, doing so is the tremendous wrong and the worst of all sins, as the Quran says, when Luqman said to his son, counseling him, "My son, ya bunay." He said, "Ya bunayya," my son. You see, actually, Luqman talking to his son. His son is actually a very young child. He's not someone who's grown up, 30, 40 years old. Right? He's talking to his son. Do not associate anything with Allah. He said, "La tushrik billah." This is amazing advice from a father to a son. Today, if you are a father, if you have a child, if you are a mother, you have a child, that's the first thing we should teach our child. Advise him. Whatever you want to do, make sure you stay away from shirk. Stay away from associating anything to Allah. La tushrik billah. That's the first thing he advised him. He didn't say, make sure you get straight A in your UPSR. Make sure you score straight A's. Make sure you study hard. No. That's the first thing. He said, La tushrik billah. Stay away from shirk. Even from a little child. They would understand, you know why? Because they have fitrah. I tried this experiment to my own daughter when she was very young. I talked to her. I said, worship Allah and don't worship anything else. I tried this experiment. I talked to her and she understand. She said, it doesn't make sense to worship anything else. Why? She's the one who told me. She said, why? God created us. Yeah, I never taught her about God. But it's the fitrah. And it makes sense. And Luqman did not stop there. Luqman warned his son. He said, associating others with him, with Allah, is a terrible wrong. He said, Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. Major sin. He said, major sin. It's a very terrible things to do. Very, very bad things to do. Don't do this. Similarly, our Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about the greatest sin in the sight of Allah, he replied, to set up a rival to Allah in worship, though He alone created you. This is in Sahih Bukhari. So when he was asked what is the greatest sin, he said, shirk. When you associating someone to Allah or something, this is the greatest sin. So stay away from this. When we say greatest, it means greater than anything else. In fact, Allah warned us in the Quran that He said He would forgive any other sin except shirk. If you die upon associating anything else to Him, He will not forgive you. Terrible sin. Unfortunately, there are people who take this very not seriously. Muslims are not taking this seriously. Right? Today we take eating pork worse than anything else. No, shirk is the worst. Killing people, great sins. Committing zina, adultery, great sin. But compared to shirk, cannot compare. Cannot compare. This is the worst. Worst of the worst. So this whole chapter talks about if we truly know that Allah created us and that only makes sense to worship Him, then there is also another side which is also need to stay away from associating anything or anyone to Allah. It comes in both ways. And this is why we discuss about La ilaha illallah. It starts with rejection. We reject all other false gods. We said La ilaha. There is no God. There is no other God worthy to be worshipped illallah, except Allah. We talked about this few weeks back, right? So it starts with telling ourselves we are not going to commit shirk. There is no other false God. And then we said we will only worship you except Allah. Next, belief in Allah's Lordship sets the heart at rest. When one firmly acknowledges that none of Allah's creation can challenge His decree, being the creator and king of all mankind, who decrees whatever He deems wise for them, who is their only creator, sustainer, and disposer of all affairs, whom nothing as small as an atom moves or settles except with His decree. One's heart becomes attached to Almighty Allah, asking none but Him, relying on Him in all worldly matters, and dealing with all the ups and downs of life calmly and confidently, with determinations and preservations. So yes, so once you have firmly acknowledged this, that La ilaha illallah, that no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah, then it's easy. Your life is easy. You will achieve peace. You will achieve tranquility in your heart. You know, whatever happens, it is the decree of Allah. He is the one who determines all affairs. You work hard, you don't get promotion. It's okay. You didn't lie. Right? You work hard, but you didn't get promotion. It's okay. Sometimes things happen. So you said, Allah has planned for me. There's a wisdom behind it. You accept it. You accept calmly, whatever ups and downs. When you have achieved something, we said, Alhamdulillah, you be humble. You said, without Him, without His help, I won't be able to achieve this. Which is true. Right? So Allah, He allowed us to worship Him. Today we are able to come here to learn about His deen, His religion. This is His blessing. He allowed us to do it. Allah is the most merciful. He allowed us to do this, and then He reward us. Do you know of any bosses like this? Right? He allowed you to do it, and He reward you. Subhanallah. So, when we achieve something, we said Alhamdulillah. But if we don't, it's okay. We be patient. As long as we don't do something wrong. For once, we have done what we can possibly do to achieve a worldly goal and have prayed to Allah for assistance. We have actually done our duty. Exactly, I just mentioned this. Do whatever we can, the halal way, not the haram way. And then we leave it to Allah. This is what, put your trust in Allah. Some people say, oh, believe in Allah, then no need to do anything. Just wait for, something to come down from heavens. No. There was once, Rasulullah, the Prophet ﷺ, he was traveling with a companion in a camel. When they reached a place, they came down from the camel. The companion asked the Prophet, he said, Ya Rasulullah, so if we truly believe that Allah is in control, then should we need to tie our camel, or just let the camel be like this and let Allah protect my camel? He asked the Prophet. It's a valid question. He said, we are believer. Allah sure will protect us. So should I tie the camel, or should I just leave the camel like this and let Allah protect it? What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Oh yeah, like that. The Prophet ﷺ said, tie your camel and then trust in Allah. Put your trust in Allah. You see, this is how we should behave. We try our best. We do whatever we can. And then we put trust in Allah. Not the other way around. Right? So, believing Allah doesn't mean we don't need to plan, we don't need to do our part. We still do our part. We still plan. We still analyze. We still check. Do whatever you want to do. And then put your trust in Allah. Right? Many people today, unfortunately, when it comes to worldly things, we don't put our trust in Allah. Right? How many people buy smartphone? Everyone, almost everyone. No one, no smartphone. Before you buy the phone, do you do your homework and check which one is better, Apple or non-Apple? I said Apple and non-Apple because the rest all non-Apple. Right? Correct or not? Right? Catholic and non-Catholic. Catholic and Protestant. So you have Apple and non-Apple. So you check, the Apple, Huawei, blah, blah, blah. Finally, you have decided, I want to buy Huawei. Wow, talk China. Blah. Finally, you decided on. How many people just buy? And how many people actually pray Salat Istikhara? You know what Salat Istikhara? You pray 2 rakat and ask Allah, I'm going to buy Huawei. If Huawei is good for me in this world and in the hereafter, then Ya Allah, make it easy for me. But if it's not good, then stop me from buying this. Whoever do this, raise your hand high. I want to see. Because I do that. No, seriously. How many people buy a handphone and the handphone become a disaster in their life? You know, a handphone actually become a disaster in many marriages, many divorce because of handphone. You don't know whether it's good or not. We think it's good. You do your homework, but you ask Allah. Oh Allah. It happened to me. And when I really want to buy, I went to the Apple store, no stock. And I searched around. I even went to Seng Heng, no stock. Very clear, Allah doesn't want me to buy. Very clear. Car, same thing. Do we do that? The only time we pray Salat Istikhara is, boys, answer me. Getting married, very good. But why not other things? So Muslims. The companions, Jabir bin Abdullah, he said in the hadith, he said the Prophet ﷺ taught us to pray Salat Istikhara 2 rakat in every matters that we have make decision. Every matters, can you imagine? But we don't take it seriously. We think we know what we are doing. Right? No, we don't know. The fact is we don't know. I'm not talking about you want to eat kway teow goreng or mee soup later and then you pray lah. If I have decided to eat kway teow goreng, ya Allah, kway teow goreng, you can if you want. If you have a lot of if you can keep your wudu lah. But you don't have to. But something that is major. But buying a phone is major. Don't think so. Buying a car is major. Don't think so. Buying a fridge is major. Don't think so. Buying a washing machine is major. You don't think so? Anything that my principle, anything you're gonna spend more than 1,000, 2,000, pray lah, 2 rakaat. What's so difficult? Sometimes you buy something and then become a disaster for you. Then you start fighting with your wife. I told you not to buy this already. Stupid. Right? Correct or not? Those who are married. But if you press two rakat, it's okay. Something bad happened, it's okay. Or if you go buy and then no stop, it's okay. You know Allah is going to stop this. Allah is going to block this. It's not good for you. This is what we call put your trust in Allah. Do your part and then pray and then go ahead and do. You still need to do your research. I'm not saying you just, I don't know which one I want. Some say, I don't know what, I don't know, I want Huawei, Apple. Okay lah, I just pray lah. Allah choose for me. Allah's not going to choose for you. You're going to do it. You make your choice. And then you ask Allah whether this is good or not. So, you're not going to go to sleep and then, Huawei, wake up. Huawei, okay, go buy Huawei. No. Some, they said they put Huawei left, then they put Apple on the right. And then when they wake up, whichever hand pick up which one, that's the answer. No. What kind of stories I heard? No. Just make your decision and then pray. Then do. Put your trust in Allah. In this way, we become contented, as we do not covet what others may have, fully aware that all power of decision rests with Allah, who creates whatever He wills and chooses for mankind whenever is best for them. Exactly. Make your decision and then tell Allah, I'm going to do this. If it's good, make it easy for me. If it's bad, stop me. Try this. You will see. Experience yourself. If it's good, you will see, MashaAllah, Allah make it very easy. Everything clear. Everything that you never think this boss would approve or this guy will approve. Everything will go so smoothly. Approve. Hey. The normal process takes 6 months. This 1 month gauting. No need even pay under table. Sometimes if you pray, you put. Otherwise, you will see a lot of problem. People will come and tell me, don't do this. It's not good. Never ask you, so how come you come and tell me? This is exactly. You will be contented. If you don't get it, you'll be like, why? How come don't give it to me? I spend so much time. I analyze this from A to Z. Still, I don't get this contract. Why? You are not. You're like, it's okay. Don't get. Try next one. So number 3, the belief that only Allah is worthy of worship. What does this mean? This means firm belief that Allah is the only true God who deserves to be worshipped. This entails that all the apparent and hidden acts of worship, such as invocation, fear, reliance, the prayer, the obligatory charity, the zakah, fasting and seeking assistance, must be directed to Him alone, as the Quran states in Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah number 2, verse 163, your God is one. Wa ilahukum ilahun wahid. There is no God but Him, the most beneficent and most merciful. This verse makes it abundantly clear that Allah is only one God, which means that He alone deserves to be worshipped and that no one else must be worshipped beside or instead of Him. Exactly. So everything, your prayer, your invocation, your fear. Fear means fear of his punishment. Everything. The formal rituals, the salah, the zakah, the hajj, the umrah, the fasting, everything must be sincerely directed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything. We hope for his rewards. We also fear for his punishment. The true Muslim, you must have this wing, a wing of hope and a wing of fear. Don't just hope and say, oh, hope for Allah reward. What will happen if you only have hope and don't fear? What will happen? You become arrogant. You think, I will definitely get that. Allah is not going to punish me. Similarly, you don't only fear and don't have hope. If you only fear, then what will happen? You will say, I cannot save one. Cannot cure already. Sure die. Sure go to hell. Then you start doing whatever you want to do. So you must have the wing of hope and the fear. This is a true Muslim. The way we live our life. You hope for the reward of Allah, and you also fear for his punishment. Every time when you read the Quran, every time without fear, without fail, Allah will tell you glad tidings. He will tell you, if you do this, you will get this. But if you do this, you will also get punishment. He will always tell you the glad tidings. He will also warn you against his punishment. And he will always say, my punishment is real and severe. So we must have that. Must have that. This is how a Muslim should live our lives. Every time when we do something, think about it. When I want to do this, halal or not? Halal. Will I get reward or not? Will I get into trouble or not? Is it worth doing it? Think about it first. Spend some time. Think about it. Is it worth doing it? On the day of judgment, when Allah asks me, how will I answer? If no problem, Bismillah. If problem, stay away. Easy or not? Very easy. Importance of the belief that Allah is the only God worthy of worship. The importance of the belief that Allah is the only God who deserves to be worshipped is apparent in a number of aspects. Number one, worshipping Allah is the ultimate purpose of human and jinn existence. As the Quran states, I have only created the jinn and man to worship me. This is in Surah Al-Bariyat, Surah 51, the verse 56. This is a beautiful verse. The verse that tells us about the purpose of our life. Everyone at some point in his life will ask, actually, what's the purpose of me in this world? Right? Anyone asked this question before? Right? Why am I here? Work, get married, die. Is that the purpose of life? Allah tells us the purpose of our existence. He said, I have not created. I only created the jinn. Actually, the translation is a bit misguided. Because the Arabic says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So, I have not created the jinn and the man except to worship me. That is the correct translation. And notice one thing. In the Quran, when you read, Allah refers himself as the first pronoun. He says, I. Any other so-called holy books we have read, other than the Quran, whereby God is referred as the first person? No, right? God has always been the third person. Meaning like, God has created the world. But you see, this one says, I created the man. So when you read the Quran, the author of the book is telling you, I created human and jinn. except to worship me, he says, the author of the book. So from there, you immediately know the author of the book is God. Because who dare to say he created man? And who dare to say he created jinn? He said, you see, you worship me. This is actually one of the aspects that makes me turn into Islam and become Muslims. Because I've never read a book like this in my life. God has always been the third person. If you read the Bible, it says God has created. As a third person. Meaning the author is saying God has, but the author is not God. But the Quran, the author is God. You notice that? Anyone notice this? Because I say this many times. This is amazing to me. It's like I never read a book where the author of the book says, I created the heavens and the earth, and I created the human beings. I'm the one. So worship me. That's why when you read the Quran, you feel like God is talking to you. God is talking to you. And He doesn't just talking to you, He talks into your heart. And this Quran is amazing. He talks about the human inner side. He talks about how the heart thinks. No, you have never read a book like this. That He can say, this guy says he believes, but actually he doesn't believe. When Allah talks about the hypocrites, He said, this guy says he believes, actually he doesn't. His heart has problem. Allah talks into the inner side of human being. Amazing book. Amazing book. He doesn't just talk about historical things, but He talks about how humans behave in details. Amazing books. Anyway, sidetrack a little bit. So the first point is, yes, our sole purpose of creation is to worship Allah. What does it mean? Praying 5 times a day? One of them. Yeah, it's not just means our sole purpose is to pray 5 times a day. Because worship means more than that. We're going to discuss this after this. Number 2, worshipping Allah is also the reason behind Allah sending messengers and revealing divine books to affirm that Allah is the only God worthy of worship and to reject false deities worshipped besides or along with Him. As the Quran states, this is in Surah Nahl, Surah 16, verse 36. We send a messenger among every people saying, worship Allah and keep clear of all falsehood. Yeah, Allah says, Aniqbudullah wajtanibu taghut. 2 things. Every prophets are given this message. Talk about these 2 things only. Worship Allah and stay away from taghut. Taghut means false God. Only these 2 things. The messengers doesn't just say worship Allah. Because if he just says worship Allah, what will happen? Today, people who commit shirk, they all say we worship Allah only through, middleman only. But the messenger's message is very clear. Worship Allah, stay away from Tawhid. Stay away from false God. It's not just worshipping Allah. So being a Muslim, we don't just worship Allah. There's another very important part of our life is also to stay away from shirk. Stay away from Tawhid. Number 3, worshipping Allah is the first duty of man towards his Creator. Giving instructions and orders to Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Upon sending him to Yemen, the Prophet ﷺ said to him is Mu'adh, you are going to the people from among the people of the book. Let the first thing you call them to be to testify that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah. This is in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So yes, see, even the Prophet ﷺ, he sent Mu'adh to Yemen. The first thing he advised him is when you go there, when you meet with these people, because majority of the people in Yemen, the people of the book. What are the people of the book? The Jews and the Christians. So when you go and meet them, the first thing, tell them to worship Allah, come to Allah. And to testify La ilaha illallah means to stay away from false God and worship Allah. Why? Because the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians, they all say they worship Allah. Ask the Christians, they will say we worship Allah. What about this? Jesus is God. Um, you know, middleman. But we still worship Allah. So the first task for Mu'adh is to tell them, worship Allah directly. No more going through false God. So that's the first thing. So you see, the Prophet ﷺ, he never, that's the first thing he advised Mu'adh. He didn't say the first thing, pray 5 times a day, give the zakah. No. Correct their belief first. The belief system is in fault. So you need to correct the belief system first. Then after that, everything comes very easily. Number 4, the belief that Allah is the only God worthy of worship is the actual realizations of the meaning of the statement La ilaha illallah. The Arabic word ilah or God refers to any being that is worshipped. Therefore, there is no God who truly deserves to be worshipped except Allah, and thus no act of worship must be dedicated except to Him alone. Exactly. So believing Allah will manifest the real meaning of La ilaha illallah. Right? But what about people who do not have religion? Some say, hey, Brother Adam, there are people who do not have religion. Right? There are people who don't have religion. So, no, actually everyone has religion. Because religion means do's and don'ts. Religion doesn't just mean you have a God, a statue. No, it's do's and don'ts. When you create your own rules, you're God. You know what is good, you know what is bad. When you create what is do's and don'ts, you create your own divine laws. So people who sometimes I'm sure you hear people say, "Oh, I believe in myself. I know what I'm doing." He is worshiping himself as God. The religion is himself. He is his own religion. And this is why Muslims, when we worship Allah, we have to stay away from our own desire. We will still follow the command of Allah, even if it's against our desire. We want this, we really want this, but the law says no. We stay away. See, this is a very high level of worshipping Allah. Stay away from your own desire, even if it go against you. And the last one, we're going to stop here. The belief that Allah is the only God worthy of worship is the logical outcome of the belief that He is the creator, the master, and the disposer of all affairs. We talk about this. Yeah. It's only logic. And this is why Islam is logical. It's not a blind faith. So if He creates us, He sustains us, He hears us, He answers our prayers, then it is only logical to worship Him, ask Him. So we're going to end here today. Sorry for the earlier technical problem. Inshallah, we're going to continue this next week, starting from the meaning of worship. So we're going to talk about exactly what does Allah mean when He said He created us only solely to worship Him. Does it mean just pray 5 times a day? Right, we're going to talk about this next week, inshallah. Any questions before we end? No questions. You were hoping to end soon, right? Sorry. No question. MashaAllah. Brothers, no question. Any feedback? Class going too fast. My English is not good. I should tell more jokes, less jokes. Too stressed, too emotional. Any feedback? No feedback also. Class is good. No, so no. Oh, good. Only one good. Okay, one light. Get one light. You comment, but it's in the website a lot of comment. Real life, no comment. We have 5 minutes if you you don't have question, I dismiss you early, or we can just sit here for 1 minute. No questions. Anything questions about outside this topic also? Okay? No question. Okay, I ask Allah to grant us steadfastness, make us steadfast in seeking His knowledge, make all of us die in the state of Muslims and not die in the state that anger Allah. And I hope this class benefit you. Jazakallahu khair. And for those who have not become Muslim, may Allah grant you hidayah and guide you to Islam as soon as possible. And for those who become Muslims recently, may Allah grant you wisdom and steadfastness to continue to be in this religion. And may Allah grant us paradise and save us from hellfire. Subhanakala wa bihamdika, asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.